Hey everyone, this is Sean from Entrepreneur Insights, and on this channel we do interviews with entrepreneurs as well as I provide my insights to you. But what I really want this channel to be is a conversation. I want to hear what you do in your business, what questions you have on how to make your business better and how I can answer them, as well as the community. Really comment below, tell me things that you've done, ask questions, anything related to business, whether it's starting up a business or continuing to build a business and so on. I've had about 5 years of experience in entrepreneurship, own one business currently, own two, had successes and failures, and we'll be sharing that throughout. So also, if you're an entrepreneur and you'd like me to interview you, it also helps promote your business. Definitely let me know below. Would love to reach out to you and interview you for the channel also. So today we're going to talk about funding a business, and generally there's 3 ways to do it. The first way is to put your own money into the business to get started, right? Another way to do that is to equity fund. So essentially, if you have a company with shares, you can give away some of that equity to other people in exchange for money from them, investors, right? And then the third way to do it is debt funding, going to a bank, issuing bonds. Smaller companies, you're not going to be issuing bonds, but you can go to a bank and borrow money. So what are the benefits and the detriments? In everything in life, there's pluses and minuses. So we're going to talk about the pluses and minuses from both personally funding to debt funding to equity funding. So let's start first with funding yourself. So you have some money laying around. You want to invest that money into your business because you really believe that this is the next big thing, or you just really believe in your skills, whether it be a service or a business, a product that you're selling. So let me know in the comment section below. Is your business a product-based business? Is your business a service-based business? Love to hear that. So let's talk about that. So obviously, if you're taking money of your own and investing in the business, 1, you have the risk of loss of the capital. 2, that money can't be used for something else. But 3, the good thing about it is that it's your money. You still retain ownership of the business, and you don't necessarily have to pay yourself interest. If the business is successful, you can turn that equity into debt potentially. If you'd like to hear more about that, let me know. We won't get into too into depth on that. So putting your own money in makes it easier to essentially retain all rights and ownership to the business. So let's talk next about equity funding. So equity funding is where, maybe it's a family member or somebody else. They say, oh, that sounds good. I like your idea. I really think your business is going to be successful. Or you're my kid. I love you. You're great. Here's some money to go, take on that business. And if you make money, I'd love a percentage or a whatever. Generally speaking, the downside to equity fund or to investment funding, venture capital, whatever it is that you're giving up a percentage of your business. So you say, okay, well, what's the big deal on that? Well, 1, if you give up more than 50%, then you no longer have the rights or the voting rights to take that business in the direction you want it to be. So whoever controls 50% of the business, 50% of the shares, that 50% interest, if it's 50-50, then it's going to be tough, right? It's going to be difficult to find the right direction. If it's 51 or 50.1% that the other person holds, they can tell you, no, we're not doing this. I override you. The other downside, and this is where you really have to think about, is if your product is really valuable, that equity that person gave you entitles them to that percentage of the business. Let me give you an example. Let's say somebody gives you $50,000 and you put in $50,000 as well. They have 50% of that business. Well, let's say 6 months later, somebody comes around and says, wow, what you've put together, your idea, your know-how, what you created, I'll pay you $1 million for that. The problem you have is because the other person has a 50% share in your business, even if they just handed you that money and just said, I'll take 50% and I'll just walk away and do my own thing. I'm not paying any attention. You do it all. They're entitled to 50% of that $1 million. So they gave you, I think in my example, they gave you 50 grand, you put in 50 grand. Now the business is worth $1 million. They're entitled to $500,000 because they have 50% of the shares of the business. So if you really believe that this business is going to take off and be worth something, and your exit strategy is that I want to take this as a startup, make it worth a fortune, and then sell it off and put money in my pocket within the next year, 2 years, couple years, whatever it is, you have to understand that that growth, you're giving away, in my example, 50% of that. Are you okay with that? The third option we'll talk about is debt funding. So you go to a bank and you say, hey, I want 50 grand to start up my business. Well, downside of that is, you have to go through the hoops and find out whether they'll lend you the 50 grand. But let's say they even do, you may have to put up some personal guarantees. And if anything happens that the business is not successful, you would still owe that 50 grand back. So plus interest. The good side of that is, in the example that I had before, if that business goes through the roof and someone comes to you later on and says, hey, I'll give you $1 million for your business, the bank is still only entitled to the 50 grand plus interest, less whatever you already paid. So let's say you owe the bank $40,000. You get that $1 million all coming to you, and you just have to pay the $40,000 to the bank. So that's the benefit of debt funding. So if you really feel like you have something strong, you have a great product that's only a matter of time, you're this close to making it big, debt funding is often going to be the best option for you. If you feel like, hey, I don't have the best credit, I don't have any other funding options, then equity funding might be the way to go. So love to hear what your thoughts have been. Have you debt funded or equity funded your business? Would you do it the same? Why? Would you do it different? Why? Let us know in the comments below. I'd love to have that conversation with you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.